There's two wines that I want to focus on, I want to feature here. They both have a connection to Domaine Leflaive. They're really representative of my experience with wine finding in Paris. Can't wait to taste these. Let's go. 2014 Auxey Duresses Les Riames Monopole. What do we got in the glass? Look at that color, so pale but beautiful. No tinges of gold, no tinges of age. Not a hint that it's anything over 5 years old, let alone 11 years old. This is just, I mean, it's magic. Something's happened here. I don't know. This is the fountain of youth. I hope so. I mean, maybe it'll translate into something over here. Absolutely gorgeous, fresh, a little bit of lemon, that fresh white flowers, that laundry on the clothesline on a late spring day or early summer day. It's beautiful, fresh, but warm. Oh, wow. You know, it translates really well to the palate too. Everything's so clean. Everything is so light and airy and fluffy, and almond extract, without the sweetness of marzipan. Just almond, you know, just the nut itself. Maybe almond flowers is the nose too. It's absolutely a point. I actually don't think it had a lot of more energy than this at any point in its life, but we'll get into that in a second. There's a reason why it couldn't be. It's the very first vintage of this, so it's not terribly long, and it's not terribly punchy in the mid palate or anything like that, but it's a pretty and very precise wine, and very careful and dainty and perfectly put together. This is absolutely the work of a pro. The person who owns this vineyard and who makes these wines, I don't think he's ever going to claim anything about wines, about making wine at least. I'm sure he knew stuff about wines, but making wine, no. Somehow or other, he befriended Anne-Claude Leflaive. She loved his terroir, his sites, and this terroir had been abandoned since the 30s or something, for a long time at least. Nothing had been planted here. She got him started on biodynamic, working the land biodynamically, promised the wines could be vinified at Domaine Leflaive. This is 2014, right? It's the very first vintage of this, which also coincidentally was the last year of Anne-Claude Leflaive's career and life. I don't know how much of an impact she had on this wine, but it's clear to me that this is not a first-time try here. I mean, there's obviously a pro at work. Whether it's her, whether it's the team, it's certainly got the stamp, all the stamps of a Leflaive, a pretty Leflaive. It's a village wine in style, you know, in heft. So gorgeous, so pretty, so perfect. I mean, what a real treasure to find these. If you've been following the channel at all, you know I've been doing the 2015s in the past. This year was the 14 that was available. I don't know, they're going backwards somehow. You know, you don't get to try these wines the way the connections are. You would expect that just because Anne-Claude Leflaive's name is on this, definitely her impact is felt through this wine, that it would be expensive. These are under 50 euros a bottle. You try and find anything from Leflaive at under 50 euros a bottle. Maybe some of the weird wines that they're making these days, but I doubt it. This is magical. This is like going to the Burgundy of yesteryear and getting a snapshot of what was so great when you could drink Leflaive. You could drink them with abandon. You could drink them with passion because you could afford to. One of the last Grand Crus I bought from Anne-Claude Leflaive was the 14 Chevalier Montrachet. And it's one of the great wine experiences of my life. It's the culmination of, obviously, a lifetime of perfectionism and artistry, certainly of craft at the very least. But this takes me back to it. Certainly not going to replace that wine, but it takes me back to those days. This is reminiscent of a Pucelle without the structure. That's what it reminds me of. It's got that softness, you know, that sort of cottony softness to it. Yeah. Baby fresh, gorgeous. You're not going to do better than this for 50 euros. Oh my God, I'm rushing out to buy another bottle. Wish me luck. Savigny-les-Beaune Premier Cru Vergelesses 2023 by a new name. That's an old name. That's a new name in terms of having a domaine, and that's Domaine Pierre Vincent. What do we got in the glass? Just a perfectly clear and gorgeously gold tinted clarity to this that's moving almost. It feels like an engine oil that's clear. You know what I mean? I mean, it's got some weight to it in a way. I don't know if you can see that in the glass, but it's got the legs and it's got a viscosity to it that, you know, maybe a wine from this region wouldn't normally have. On the nose, there's some pear and some orange blossom and some lime for sure. And smoke, definitely smoke. Maybe a little reduction. Absolutely gorgeous. This is super complex on the nose. This is very, very exciting. My mouth is watering just taking on the nose, so to speak. And it's something almost sweaty. Okie dokie then. There's very few wines that can do this. I understand what's going on here now. I understand why. When I talked to the guy in the store about this wine, he was extremely excited for this. This is the one he wanted me to buy. And it wasn't cheap. I'll get to the price in a minute. There's, oh, but here comes that cheese kind of rind thing. And the beautiful pear. Maybe not a pile of oomph, but there's structure here and there's class. Gorgeous amounts of heaps and heaps and heaps of class. Not so distant away from the Les Riames in the style, you could say, other than the smokiness, and there's more of an astringency to it. A very refreshing one. There's a bit of wood, still just a touch of the wood just peeking out from behind the skirt. But it's then that orange blossom thing just comes out and kind of goes, whoa, no. Don't pay no attention to the wood. Pay no attention to those tannins. This is a jewel, you know. I mean, it's a fantastic wine. It's Domaine Pierre Vincent, who from 2016 to 2023, 24, 22, he was the director of Domaine Leflaive. So we've got another Domaine Leflaive connection here, the same as we had with William, in a little bit of a different way. And he also is a friend of the producer at, I don't know how they're friends, I don't know anything about it other than what I read on the interwebs. And you can feel the connections here, the tendrils of Burgundy's undercurrents sort of intertwining themselves into your life here, into your soul. God damn. This is just gorgeous. It's absolutely, it's missing the, you know, I suppose the heft or the punch, the power, the stature of a Grand Cru. It isn't a Grand Cru. It's also missing, I would say, the structure of a Premier Cru, and certainly the mid palate of a Marceau Premier Cru or even a Marceau UD. But it has something else going for it. It is a Premier Cru, definitely, and it has so much fucking class. I mean, this wine is just so well put together. I think any collector who's a collector out there right now is probably looking for these bottles and is going to buy them off the shelves, and they're not going to last very long. I feel very lucky to get to try this, to be honest. Delicious. Fantastic wine. Some carry through in the finish, but it's kind of overwhelmed a little bit by the wood, the tanniny type of effect of the wood towards in the end there. So it's not. It's going to become more voluptuous with time, and that wood's going to tamp down a little bit, and then this will become something even more than what it is right now. But you can already tell this is a grandiose wine. Here's what I would estimate. Within his range, it's probably 92 or 93 or something like that in his range, because he makes Marceaus and Prignies and Corton Charlemagne, I think, is the jewel in the crown for this house right now. Experience-wise, for me, it's a 95 wine, no, because it's so classy. For me to get my hands on one of these is a treat. I'm really going to go out of my way, though, to get a Marceau. I'm very, very curious about how good the Marceau is going to be. I think it's going to be fantastic. Love this. If you see some, get some. This was 120 euros a bottle. It's a lot of money, and it's not. Yeah, what can I say about both of these wines? They go above and beyond. I've spent a lot more money on much worse wines this summer. I can say that there's been a few disappointments, but they were nowhere near as disappointing as the highs I just experienced with these two whites. Riames, because my heart is, but you know, as someone who chases value in Burgundy and stories in Burgundy and quality and class in Burgundy, you know, connections in Burgundy, this hit all of those notes. That and, you know, the sadness and inspiration of the wine just simply from being associated with Anne-Claude Leflaive in her, you know, towards the end of her life. And then Domaine Pierre Vincent, which is a new domain, striking out on his own after being the director of Leflaive in the years since Anne-Claude's passing. And, you know, he's maintaining a high quality level there, right, too. We're not talking about as the Swedes say, ingen ungduv, a young pigeon or a young dove, inexperienced. He obviously knows what the hell he's doing. And when you taste the wine, you just realize, Jesus, it's more than that. It's transcendental. It's very, very high quality. It's right up there. The guy in the store was telling me that there was whispers of comparisons to Leroy. He's saying that collectors are talking with those sort of hushed whispers as they try to access all of those bottles from him, and especially at the beginning of the Domaine's on-ramp into the marketplace. Yeah. Paris has a lot of gifts. This year, you're allowed to swim in the Seine. I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking about it. I'll find a time to get down there, jump in that river. Why not? There's always something I discover wine-wise. Some of my favorite producers now I've discovered while I was here. And these two wines this year, it's just too fucking good, you know? That's what I have for this time. Hope you're having a great summer like I am, and leave it in the comments. See you next time.